Segment 2, Gold and Black Live. One of the hardest men in sports, Ray Davis. We got him in his car, so that's a good thing. But we're glad to have Rapheal join us here. Rapheal needs no introduction to Purdue fans. 2015 Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. BTN analyst extraordinaire. I think one of the rising stars in that. You and your buddy Rob Hummel I like your stocks rising, so that's a good thing. And most importantly, just a guy that does a lot of things for a lot of people, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But welcome again to the show. We thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Oh, no, I appreciate you having me on. It's always a pleasure to be here, and always a pleasure talking with you, Alan.
Yeah, well, it is getting near time for basketball practice. But I want to talk first about, one of the things I admire most about you is just all the things you do for other folks in basketball, but in life. And one of the things that you're doing, it's the third annual Crew Life Foundation event, Ross H. Stadium Press Box, October the 11th. That's a Wednesday night, 5:30 to 7:30, and we'll put a link on how to get tickets as well. Really a cool event, not only just to support Crew Life, but you got Zach Edey as an interview. You've got a Purdue basketball team that's going to be ranked in the top 5 heading into the season. Talk a little bit more about the event and why that seems to get bigger and better every year.
Oh, yeah, and then also you this year, Conzo Martin, he'll be coming down to come and speak. And then I think it's really cool. I want to give a big thanks to Zach, because Zach definitely didn't have to do this. Zach's not being paid for this. This isn't an NIL situation for Zach. This is really just out of the goodness of his heart. Because, I mean, obviously with the rules and whatnot, he can't get paid on American soil. And, I mean, and even if he could, he never even asked about it. So that was it was just really cool for him to just say, yeah, I'll be there. It took one text. But that was real cool. But this event is it's been great, and it's helped a lot of kids over the last 3 years. We've sent over 1,500 kids to basketball camps, and not our basketball camps, rather it be the Chris Kramer camp or the Caleb First and Luke Goody camp, or different camps in Fort Wayne, or we've helped fund different inner city community AAU programs. We just recently, 2 days ago, bought jerseys for inner city travel football program. So it's just been a great thing to be able to help others. I mean, this summer we gave out 100 stuffed backpacks and free haircuts for back to school. We've had, like I said, we've had our basketball camps. We've been able to have kids grow in that space as well. We had a freshman that grew. He was a freshman this year. He started with us as a 6th grader. He was on the varsity program. So we've seen kids grow in that way, grow in that space. But we also seen a couple kids that I'm really proud of. A couple of our kids is that these boys have been with us since 6th grade. They've been up to Purdue. They've not only been to our camps in Fort Wayne and events there, but they went to Eric Hunter's camp in Lafayette. They've been to the Lafayette camps. They've been to the football games. They've toured campus, and now they're freshmen. And they decided on their own to enter engineering classes. And now they're actively asking to go to Purdue, and not just to go to games, but just to walk around campus. So you just never know. You just never know who you affect, or you never know who you're gonna get to. And it's been a great thing to have.
When you provide opportunity for people, anything can happen, and you're the living example of that in terms of what you do for kids. And I think the thing that I like, and you've said this message before on our show, but it is not about getting kids to Power 5 basketball programs. I mean, it is about maybe introducing kids to opportunities in athletics or marketing or sports, but it's not about trying to cultivate the next 5-star kid. It's a lot more than that.
Yeah, because I mean, you got 6th graders now that are going to be freshmen, and I was a freshman. I didn't know what engineering was. I would have thought you were talking about going to be a car mechanic or something. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you're opening kids' eyes to professions that they didn't know about. I remember my first time actually learning about what pharmaceutical sales was. I was a senior in college, sitting down with Steve Cohen from Eli Lilly. He was explaining it to me. And what if I would have learned about that as an 8th grader or a 6th grader? Yeah. And some of those things it's big time. I mean, I just talked with someone within Eli Lilly, and they have a scholarship fund connected to Purdue, and kids may have opportunity to apply and go through that way. So what if you're 14, 15 years old, and you already know that if I take care of my business now, and I understand what I'm doing now, if I can get a free full ride to Purdue, not with athletics, but then also while I'm at Purdue, I could possibly get an internship with one of the most powerful pharmaceutical companies in the world. So those things give kids goals. They give them things to look forward to. Because so many kids, I remember I was a principal for a day at my old high school at Southside this past year, and I remember I asked the kids what they want to do when they got older, and so many kids couldn't see past 21.
Yeah.
They couldn't see past 25, and these things allow them to kind of see a future. They get to go tailgating. They get to see what that looks like. They get to see that type of fun. And like I was telling the young boys, and they're high schoolers now, and I've been around them since they were young boys, and you see young kids grow, and
Yeah.
you can see now they like to look at girls. They like girls, and now they understand that, oh, there's girls at college. So now they're less likely to do something dumb in high school or worry about girls in high school. Now they understand I have to take care of my business, and then I'll get to college. So it's been great to see that too.
Everybody has mentors, and I think I've asked you this in times past, but what got you to be this way? I mean, you were a tough-minded, the toughest guy you could find in the Big Ten in your days playing. Who was your mentor? Who got you thinking in this realm, or is this something that's just kind of organically you've incrementally developed this over time?
I would say it's I would say it's organic. I guess I would start with my father though. My father, big time. My father, he was outside of being a police officer in the neighborhood in the inner city. We lived right there in the neighborhood. He was real immersed in it. He was not just a he would be the police officer, then he'd go to the elementary school and be the security guard, and then he would go and be security guard at the Long John Silver's and the Pizza Hut, and then he would coach the youth football team, and then I would have 4 or 5 god brothers, young kids just running around our house any given Saturday morning. So my dad was always looking out, and he was that police officer that you wanted to pull you over, that would
Yeah.
give you a chance, that would pick up your kids and bring your kids home, or that would see your kids out in the mall, and if they were doing something dumb, he'd pluck them upside the head. And you see those relationships grow, and you see kids, and but then also I mean also I'll be remiss if I didn't say there were a lot of better athletes than me when I was growing up. A lot of
Yeah.
them. There were a lot of kids that were better than me, that were stronger than me, that were faster than me. But I just had a better family structure. I had a better mentor structure, and so some of those kids are no longer alive. Some of those kids are doing long jail bids, and I just always think, what if those kids had a mentor like I had? And outside of my father, my AAU coaches, a guy like Brian Rogers is a guy that he just sent
Yeah.
me a book paragraph, long message yesterday, and he's been sending me those messages since I had a cell phone when I was 14 years
Yeah.
old. So
Yeah.
and those mentors aren't just mentors for now; they're mentors for life, and
Yeah.
they really they help you through things, they guide you through things. Sometimes you have parents, and you can have whether you have one great parent or two great parents. Sometimes that mentor gets you through, and sometimes that mentor really helps you, and you can tell your mentor stuff that you can't tell your parents.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a good, and I know you got some precious cargo in that car, so I understand
Oh
but
yeah.
you're everybody's working out all right. I think that's the lesson for me, is that there's so much more to this, and Fort Wayne has become it's always been important to Purdue. I mean, you go back to Rod Woodson and Walter Jordan and Eugene Parker and
Yeah.
Roosevelt Barnes, all the way down. Purdue's great path through Fort Wayne. It's now the Mecca. I mean, Ryan Walters puts it as one of his focal points in recruiting.
Yep.
Why is in the athletic realm there is really special? I mean, and kids that aren't coming from a lot of the kids aren't coming from real advantaged homes, but they make there's a tremendous athletic competition in that town. Is that more than it was? Is the same, or is it getting better in your view?
I think it's getting stronger. I think it could get stronger. I know we had really strong run of athletics. I mean, I know you named some of the older guys, but when I
Yeah.
think of Purdue, I even think of I know Cam Spencer. I mean, not Cam Spencer. I know Cam Stevens didn't
Anthony
finish there.
Spencer.
Anthony Spencer, Bernard Pollard, those guys. So those guys, Bernard Pollard went to my high school. So I mean, it's a great town. It's a smaller, not as big as Indianapolis. Kind of gets that little brother syndrome a little bit. Doesn't get the
Yeah.
respect sometimes guys feel. and it starts early. I mean, we have a youth football league that you full pad, 7 years old, ready to go. I mean, all the
Yeah.
guys playing it from Bernard, Rod Woodson. I mean, myself, I played in it. I mean, Jalen Smith went to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
All these guys play in that league, and it's real competitive. I mean, you get on Facebook now, you see the dads and the uncles and the coaches arguing and stuff. So competition starts early. Winning matters, and I think guys just get after. And it's also just a feel of everybody's kind of friendly, but they're competing together. So you had
Yeah.
even my era guys. You had Deshaun Thomas was a little bit older than me. You had myself. You had James Blackman, Bryson Scott, Brent Scott, BJ Beacham. You had just Grady Eifert. You had all these different guys all in that. Jalen Smith was in there too. So you had this small town, but a lot of guys in one. So it was a lot of inner city battles, inner city competition. So it just was it's always good and people care about it.
Well, Ray, that's because the reason why I remember the Eugene Parkers and Walter Jordans because I'm old, see, but
Oh
those
yeah.
guys were just.
I mean, and
Uh,
even just my bad. Just one thing about, I mean, Eugene Parker, Roosevelt Barnes. I mean, those are some of the guys that when I was coming up at Fort Wayne, those were the guys that were doing what I'm doing now. Those were the
yeah,
guys that had IJ and Bless. They were
yeah,
taking boys from the neighborhood. They were Roosevelt had to be. I mean, he had to be spending. I mean, I don't know. I mean, millions maybe because he was taking boys, flying them all over the country, putting them up in nice hotels, giving them opportunities that they wouldn't have been given. And some of these guys weren't necessarily great basketball players. And
yeah.
it was a real good time during that time when they had control over Fort Wayne basketball. So those guys were, I mean, because I can remember going to Walter Jordan's youth summer basketball
Yeah.
league and all those different things. So it's been a city that normally takes care of itself.
Yeah, Roosevelt Barnes, and of course, one other one that we haven't mentioned that we have to absolutely mention is Caleb Swanigan, and
Yeah.
what a player he was. Yes, it didn't end the way that any of us wanted to, but that's a story in itself. And another Fort Wayne, an example of Roosevelt Barnes and what got done in that opportunity for Caleb. All right, Big Ten basketball. I know Purdue starts practice on the 26th. That would be next week. I know you're studying hard to get ready for another year with BTN, but talk about, the Boilermakers. It's not on paper. This is going to be a great. This is reality. This is a very good basketball team. We know that there's work to be done, but based on what happened in March. But at least in March in the NCAA tournament, I should say, they did win the Big Ten tournament. But talk about Purdue and looking at Zach Edey is certainly, it's nice. It's a great thing that he's coming back, but also maybe the Matt Painter, and some of the things that he may do a little differently, or he's a self-evaluator. Again, the tournament didn't go the way he wanted to, but what do you think might
Right.
be, if anything, what's going to be different this year for Purdue?
I think they went out and they got what they needed, and whether it be the
Yeah,
portal or rather be through, I mean, Miles Cove, high school guys. Guys aren't talking about it nationally. I mean, because maybe they weren't big names or whatnot. I mean, because in my opinion, if Miles Cove, if he plays for an EYBL program or one of the shoe circuit programs, he's a McDonald's All-American. I mean,
yeah,
he's competing right there athletically with Cohen Carr and some of these guys, and he wasn't seen by the right folks, if
right.
that makes sense. So he would have been a 5-star in any other situation. So I think he's athletically exactly what they need. Cam Heidi coming off a red shirt gives them a lot more athletic bounce. Even you see guys like Waddell giving them a little bit more
Yeah,
athleticism in practice. And then so that helps them there on the wing, and they really struggled on the wing at times because they didn't shoot the ball well at times, but it's not just shooting the ball because who are you when the ball doesn't go in from the wing? And
yeah,
there was no other rim pressure outside of Zach Edey. The only rim
yeah,
pressure Purdue had at times was throw the ball into Zach or get an offensive rebound and finish. There was not that many drives to the basket. You see
right.
Fletcher try to get in there sometimes, but maybe get it blocked or get fouled or whatnot. But there wasn't that consistent guy that on Zach's closeout, whether if it's one pass or off the dribble, that you're afraid it's gonna go dunk on you. And now they have a few of those guys, and even bringing in Lance Jones, I think was a perfect
Yeah,
fit. I think he's a perfect backup point guard in the Big Ten, or I think he can play both positions. I think he can guard both positions, which really helps Purdue because you get into the tournament, you get against those guards that normally give Purdue trouble. I think he's that guy that can go guard them. I think
yeah,
in the past, some of our fifth-year transfers athletically haven't necessarily met that bar. And I think Lance is just as athletic as a John Noctius in the
Yeah.
sense of he can guard a 1, 2, or 3. He's strong. He's big. He plays bigger than his size. And when he has the ball, he's the guy that has some shake to him. He can get to the basket. He can make plays. He can finish. So when I watch them a few times and when they played and when they scrimmage, they look faster. They look way more athletic. And then also, it's just not going to Zach every play. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, Zach is going to get his. You're going to feed him as much as you can, but they look to be well versed. And then the maturation of TKR has been big
Yeah.
time. So now I
Yeah.
think you have two legit go-to guys on the block, legit. And I love how Zach is fine with getting out the way. He's fine with positioning himself for the weak side rebound, and that's gonna be special to watch.
Yeah, Caleb First and Fletcher Lawyer, that more of that
Yep.
Fort Wayne contingent. They're both interesting guys as well that will have to play a big role.
Yeah.
They always have. I mean, in their respective 3 years at Purdue. But to talk about those two guys and it's the importance of complementary players with an E that are going to absolutely be the difference between maybe when the chips are down in March, you get through games because you have somebody like that can make it happen.
Yeah, you need Fletcher this year to be, I mean, near a 50, 40, 90 guy. You need him to shoot close to 50% from two. You need him to be a consistent 40% guy from three. You need him to make his free throws. He's going to do that. But then you need him to guard, but now it helps that you have a little more athleticism around him where you can hide him a little more.
Yeah.
But I think Fletcher's going to have a junior, senior mindset. I mean, he played a lot as a freshman, so it's not necessarily a freshman to sophomore jump, if that makes sense. So he's kind of going from a freshman to junior jump in my head, if that I think weird sometimes, but maturation wise, he's got to be that steady force on the floor where you can't leave him open. He's going to make shots. He's going to make the right decision. Caleb's got to be that guy that I think he's going to come in off the bench, give a lot of energy, whether it's at the 4 and the 5. He's got to be a guy that's got to consistently make shots because if Caleb can come in at a backup 5 or a backup 4 and be near 40% from three, it just changes things because you see them when they're playing 5-on-5 and Caleb and Zach are matched up. Caleb is normally beating Zach down the floor. It's much of a faster team, and he can guard different positions. He can make shots. He just got to be a little more confident what he does offensively. But I think those two guys play a big part. Those two guys, they got to be productive. They got to guard. I think that's what hurt them last year. Sometimes Fletcher, you get him on an island times. He struggles to move those feet a little bit. But I think this year he's going to be a little bit better because now you have a year under your belt and he understands angles and whatnot. And Fletcher looks like he beefed up a little bit. So I like Fletcher to have a run to be kind of that steady flow all 4 years of guys that you just kind of get tired of in college basketball.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about Braden Smith, and he's another guy that's going to be I think you would have enjoyed.
Man,
I
saw Braden. Sorry to cut you off, but I saw Braden Saturday. Yeah. Braden Smith went up and blocked one of Zach's shots and goaltended or whatever. And it just was so impressive that your point guard is that athletic and that has that much moxie. He went up and just challenged Zach at the rim, and it was that was cool to see. Braden's a guy that just loves hoop. Braden lives in the gym. He looks like a little solid MMA fighter right now, and I think he hears the rumbles of not being one of the better point guards in the league. I think he should have been an All Big Ten guy last season because his play equated to winning. And if you take Braden off the team last year, Purdue, Zach or not, they struggle. So I'm really, really, really looking forward to see how Braden plays the sophomore year.
All right. Well, what a great pair. Okay, one last question. Michigan State, the biggest, certainly going to be in the top 5 to 10. But anybody else in the league that you see is a dark horse or somebody that could come up and really surprise and be competition for the Spartans and the Boilermakers?
Yeah, I would say Maryland. What they did last year at home was special, going undefeated. I think they're bringing their 3 best guys back. I mean, you got Jameer Young, one of the best point guards in the league. He gave Purdue problems last year. Yeah. I think Julian Reese is going to take a big step at the 5 position. I mean, you think about this summer, anytime your team is flirting with another player in your position, that's got to motivate you. They were flirting with Hunter Dickinson a little bit, so that's got to push you a little bit. And then Dante Scott, older guy, he's not coming back to lose. So that's a good piece. If those guys can make shots on the road, I like Maryland's lineup. But then I also like Illinois. I like Illinois is bringing back and Terrence Shannon, Coleman Hawkins, Luke Goody, and those guys. I think Ty Rodgers will play point. which gives them a very physical, big, athletic lineup. Marcus Domask can really make shots. I think he reminds me of a little taller version of Dakota, can post, can move, can make shots, can pass. But I think if those guys, if they can gel with the transfers, because they're older now. Last year,
Yeah.
Illinois was really, really young, and now they're really old when you look at their roster. I like their makeup. And Dane Danger, I think he's better than what people are giving him. And so I like the depth of Illinois, and I think they're one of the more athletic teams in the league, and they're going to give a different look.
And they have a toughness in a coach that's not going to let them to mess
Yeah,
around
they're
too
not going
much.
to have
So,
another season. Yeah.
no, no doubt. All right, Luke Goody, another Fort Wayne area
Yep.
guy, right? So they're all over the
Yep.
place. Ray, thanks so much for your time. A reminder, October the 11th, and you can get tickets now.
Yep.
In fact, we were fortunate to get some today and are excited about the opportunity to go. The Crew Life Foundation. It will be in Ross Age Stadium. Zach Eady, the featured speaker, but Conzo Martin will be there. Ray Davis will be there. There are a lot. You can go there and watch the stars come out. In addition to the Purdue men's basketball team, a great event for a great cause, and this is the guy that makes it happen, Rapheal Davis. So thanks so much, and we will look forward to see. We don't see you before then. We'll see you on October 11th.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for talking about Crew Life.
All right, sounds good. We'll be back in 2 minutes as Paul Sadler will join us. We're going to talk about Purdue, what makes it from a creative services standpoint, all the social media and photos and Instagram and everything that they do. It's a little different even than the days when Ray played. It's changed and it continues to evolve. Really a fun conversation with Paul Sadler. So stay tuned. We'll see you in 2 minutes on Golden Black Live.